Howdy y'all, Jackson here with IckJerk Studios, and welcome to the second episode of the second season of Death Penalty. As you can see, we've pulled ourselves up to a 60 overall with 65 offense and 57 defense. Still not great, but I think this means we can actually compete with a low-level group of 5 football. Additionally, I've actually switched up my sliders because last year was absolutely brutal. Links to what I was using, what I am now using are in the description, so you can call me a baby or whatever when you compare them. Now roll that hype video. Hello and welcome to the Kibbe Dome in Moscow, Idaho, as the hometown Vandals take on the Ohio Bobcats of the Mid-American Conference. Idaho would receive the kickoff, but face an early third down. But graduate transfer Nathan Peterman would find star receiver Eldrin Morris for the first. Those two already seemed to have quite the chemistry built heading into the season. With the new set of downs, Peterman would go right back to him on a slant, picking up another first down. They would then quickly find themselves in another third though, and Peterman would be flushed out of the pocket to his left, but would still manage to throw a dart to Cedric Henderson for another first. He'd then look to pass again as the Bobcats are playing the option well, and find Brent Smiley over the middle on a slant for a first. They'd then finally get the option to work for a little, as Peterman would take this option keeper up the middle for 7. After then going nowhere on second down, they'd look to pass on third and short. Peterman would roll to his left and see nothing but green, electing to scramble, taking it all the way to the goal line. And then 2 plays later, he'd go up and over for a 7-0 Vandal lead. They'd then get a stop, but then be stopped themselves, bringing up this punt, which would be shanked horribly and give the Bobcats the ball just 7 yards outside the red zone. And with that, on 2nd and 6, Darius Vick would get himself into the red zone, and more, scrambling all the way to about the 10. 2 plays later, Desmond Patterson would look to the end zone on this handoff, but he'd take a shot from a Vandal defender and cough up the football, turning it over. The Vandal offense would do nothing with it though, and give the ball back to the Bobcats with 1:29 remaining in the half, as Vick would find Patterson over the middle for 5. 2 plays later, he'd find backup running back Warren Ball out of the backfield for the first. They'd then go nowhere fast, and now as they attempt to run the clock out to head into halftime, a hole would break wide open, and Patterson would make his way all the way inside the 5, before being shoestring tackled by cornerback Matt Reese. They'd then kick this field goal to head into halftime only down 4. Both teams would then get an offensive possession in the second half, but both would do nothing, leading to Ohio starting their second possession of the half at midfield, as Patterson would take this handoff up the middle for 6. He'd then get it again, finding a hole, as well as some poor Vandal defense, and get his way all the way down inside the 10. And 3 plays later, Vick would look to the corner of the end zone, but Reese would be there again to save a touchdown, intercepting the pass. The Vandal offense would again do nothing off the turnover, giving the ball back to Ohio, who would face this 3rd and long, where Vick would find Malik Rodriguez burning the cornerback Will Smith for a 69-yard touchdown to take the lead. They then quickly get the ball back, looking to make it a 2-score lead, as Vick would find Rodriguez again, this time on a screen to set up a 3rd and short, which they would easily convert as Vick would take this keeper into space for 12. Then 2 plays later, Ball would get the carry, and he'd drag a Vandal defender several yards to pick up another Bobcat first. Then 2 plays after that, Vick would find a target short, who'd shove off a Wimpley tackler and hustle his way downfield to get inside the red zone. And then another 2 plays later, Vick would take this read option from 1 yard out to make it a 10-point lead, with just over 4 minutes remaining. Idaho still has some fight in them though, as on first down, Peterman would look deep, connecting with Henderson to get past the Bobcat 30. He'd then drop back and roll right, before firing a strike to Morris on a comeback route to pick up 7. He'd then go back and hit him again on another curl to get inside the 10. But a short completion and 2 incompletions later, they'd be forced to settle for this field goal, now needing a touchdown to tie things up. They would elect to kick the ball away and play defense as opposed to kicking it onside, and it would seem to be paying off as Ohio is faced with a 3rd and 10, and Vick would look deep, but JUCO transfer Nick McDonald would be there to pick off the pass and set up good field position for the Vandals. On 2nd and 10, Peterman would look to throw, rolling right, but then choose the scramble, picking up 9. On 3rd and 1, he'd find Adam Miles on an out route, but it would be in and out of his hands, bringing up 4th and 1. On 4th, Peterman would throw it again, and this time Miles would catch it, getting a new set of downs. 2 plays after that, Peterman would hit Smiley on a curl to get near the red zone. And 3 plays after that, on 3rd and 9, he'd hit Smiley on a fade to get down to the 1. And on the following play, Peterman would find Wiggins to tie things up and head into overtime. Ohio would win the toss and elect to play defense, bringing up this Vandal 2nd and 10, where Peterman would hit Morris for the first. 2 plays later, on another 2nd and 10, Peterman would be forced to roll right and throw a ball into a tight window, but he would connect with Morris for the score. Ohio would now be on offense and need a touchdown to keep the game alive, and they'd look for it right away, but Reese would be there again, with his 3rd touchdown-saving play of the game, clinching it for the Vandals with his interception. Idaho hits half of its 2014 win total, with a matchup against FCS Northwest still to play, beating the Ohio Bobcats 24-17 in overtime. We now head to Auburn, Alabama to take on the Auburn Tigers, which is almost assuredly a loss, but let's roll that hype video. Hello and welcome to Jordan-Hare Stadium as the Auburn Tigers kick off their season against the 1-0 Idaho Vandals. Idaho would receive the opening kickoff and look like they came here to play, as Peterman would take this read option to the right for 12. He'd then follow that up 2 plays later as he'd find Morris on a curl to get to about midfield. They would then run another option right and Peterman would keep it again, taking it downfield for 13 yards. 2 plays later he'd end up pitching out to Mike Lynch to pick up 6. On 3rd and 3, Peterman would keep it again, but it would be well covered, stopping him short. The Vandal offense would stay on the field though, knowing they need to score on every possession if they want to win the game, as Peterman would find Morris over the middle for the first. They would then quickly find themselves in another 3rd down, but Morris would get himself open again, and Peterman would hit him again to get inside the 5. And on the very next play, Peterman would connect with Henderson for the touchdown. Auburn is stunned, but now their offense gets to play, and show why they're in the SEC and Idaho is in the Sun Belt. As quarterback John Wallace finds Sammy Coates over the middle, who would make several defenders miss as he takes it all the way down to the Vandal 25. And 2 plays after that, running back Jonathan Ford would show why he's in the SEC and not the Sun Belt. He breaks not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 tackles before going out of bounds inside the 10. And 2 plays later, Wallace would find his way into the end zone from 1 yard out on this option keeper to tie things up. The Vandal offense, though, is not intimidated like its defense, as Cody Rogers takes this pitch out for 6. 2 plays later on 3rd and 1, Peterman would easily convert on this quarterback sneak. Then faced with the 3rd down, Morris would get himself open again to get past midfield. Then on 3rd, he'd look to do it again, but would be hit as the ball came in, causing him to drop it, bringing up a 4th down. The Vandals would stay on the field, and with Morris well covered, the pass would instead go to Wiggins to pick up another 1st. With the new set of downs, they'd go back to the option, and Rogers would get the pitch out and blow over an Auburn defender to get another 1st. 2 plays later, Peterman would go back to Morris on a curl to get inside the 5. And 2 plays after that, Miles would get the ball in the end zone for another Vandal score. And with that, the Vandals would take a 7-point lead into the half, shocking the Tigers. Though the Tigers would come out confident in the second half though, at least offensively, as they'd hit Ricardo Lewis on a wide receiver screen for 8. Ford would then pick up the 1st on this short run. With the new set of downs, he'd get it again, following his blocks, then shoving off a wimply tackler before finding himself in open field, taking it all the way to the house. The Idaho offense would still come out strong though, as Peterman would get this pitch out to Lynch to get to the 35. They'd then follow that up with Peterman finding Morris to get past midfield yet again. A pitch would then go out to Rogers, who'd get his way down to the Tiger 30. Lynch would then get a pitch out, and he'd make his way into the red zone for the 3rd straight drive. But then things would go wrong. Peterman would make an ill-advised pitch that would bounce off a defender and be recovered by the Tigers, and returned all the way back to the Vandal 35. And 2 plays after that, Ford would take this handoff left, finding the corner and outmaneuvering the defense to take the lead, which they would never relinquish. Though Idaho would score another touchdown, Auburn would score 3 more, and win the game 42-21. That game was actually closer than that score implied, because 2 of those touchdowns were actually in garbage time, and I did tie the game back up at 21. It was just that poor pitch in the red zone that killed me and pretty much ended the game. Anyway, we've got an easy matchup this week against the FCS Northwest, which in reality was actually a game against Wofford, which is kind of weird since Wofford is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So not really Northwest, but also we should have been playing USC instead of Auburn last week if we're using real schedules. Anyway, I'd like to still technically note we're lower overall than the team we are playing, but it still should be an easy win since it's an FCS school. Now roll that hype video. Hello and welcome to the Kibby Dome, as we have an FCS opponent coming to play the 1-1 Idaho Vandals, in what should be a cakewalk. And it would be, in a very boring game where the Vandals would just kill clock and score, on their way to a 35-10 victory, as they have already matched last season's win total, and now look to set their sights on perhaps a Sun Belt title. Anyway, thank you for watching this episode of Death Penalty. If you liked it, please leave a like. If you didn't, feel free to leave a dislike. If you have not already, please subscribe, and feel free to sound off in the comments section below on pretty much anything and everything. Thank you again for watching. Bye.